Hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier, broadcasting from the center of your entertainment galaxy, and we are back tonight with Star Trek Adventures Broken Sword. We're here tonight with some of our crew. We're unfortunately down a couple members, but we still have Tabok of the House of Cord, played by Balak Lestrange. Hey there, Sean.
Hey,
Uh, our engineer and basically first officer, Raldar, as played by Caligo.
Yowdy.
Uh, Mr. Azek Korg, our own Joe Overland Gamer,
Greetings.
yes, who is also, of course, given to playing the supporting character of. Oh dear, I have forgotten his name. Uh,
Dekoth.
Dekoth, of course. Who could forget Dekoth? The GM, apparently.
apparently everybody could.
Yes, the character is not favored by this game's god. Oh well. The Klingons slew them long ago anyway. And then,
They were more trouble than they were worth.
with me, definitely. And then, of course, we also have our own Cheesy, who would normally be playing the role of Traven Lex. However, Traven is presently in a stasis pod in sickbay, so he is assuming the role of a supporting character, the Nausicaan, whom all of you know as Bahan, a former ship captain himself and one frequently given to drink after encounters, you think, with some sort of rogue but valuable cosmozoa. Um, so, when last we left off with our current adventure, Iwudil raQpo, the crew of the Broken Sword, or rather the Yan, as it is properly known, was in fact split off from each other in orbit of the world Jumashkad, also known as Khad, just simply for its inhabitants. It's a small, isolated mining world where there's very little of note, essentially some deuterium mines, a very small outpost for the people that live there, and of course, a refueling station and dock in orbit that serves to help transport people from the surface. It is given to a great deal of very unusual geographic features, particularly these sort of bone like structures that are just littering the planet, all made out of stone. So, whilst on the planet, you had been sent here to pick up someone, essentially. A fare with possible links to a Klingon house of some repute, although they wanted this done quietly, so you don't really know where the attachments are, and you did actually find your man fairly quickly. What slowed you down from taking the gentleman who identifies himself as Dirkir, what has slowed you down is the fact that he wished to seek considerable drink, and because of that, you have found yourself cut off by an arriving mercenary group. People that have identified themselves as the HeghmoH, led by a Koha by the name of Vegta the Undying. Um, you've been trying to put that to the test as his large band of mercenaries have encircled and besieged the bar where your whole crew is taking refuge, save for those that were left on the ship. Your ground team has been besieged, but you've exchanged some fire with them. The greater help, however, has come from orbit, where the Yan has been beaming down basically crates of your thermite grenade stockpile and just devastating the large group of mercenaries that tried to assault the bar. They,
Is it
however,
okay if I giggle uproariously at this?
of course, um,
Thank you.
Less giggle-worthy is the fact that you've come on, or rather, the ship came under assault by the bird of prey, which decided to start lobbing torpedoes while still docked at the station, trying to bombard you. Um, there was a risky there was a risky plan executed to try and disable them, where you attempted to make a close pass, specifically behind Dr. Kresick, the ship's NPC Vopri, who is also essentially the science specialist, along with a very unlucky transporter chief by the name of Croker. You attempted to beam the last crate of grenades that you had on board in the hopes of disabling them, but Croker suffered a critical complication, and the crates of grenades did indeed make it out of the ship, and it did beam away, but when they detonated, the entire station went up. And it is in this moment that we come back to the crew, or rather the very limited crew, and specifically to you, Bahan, as you see alerts on your sensors saying that not only is the station and the bird of prey attacking you no longer there, but there is a large explosion and shockwave that is imminently about to hit you. You have the first roll of the session with a daring and security roll. This is going to be a difficulty 3, and you are assisted by the ship's, believe that would be offhand, I believe that is con and engines, but I need to double check because there is technically a separate evasive maneuver task, or evasive action, which is considered, that is structure and con, which that actually uses. And let me check one more thing before that, because if memory serves, you had sustained some considerable, or you had taken at least one torpedo hit last time without shields.
I believe it was only a single breach, though.
Well, it would be a single breach with just the torpedo hitting, but torpedoes, for the most part, also have the high yield quality, which means that they cause one additional breach with every strike that they make, or when they succeed at causing it. So, yes, I believe that would have been the first breach was to computers, the second one was to structure. You are at least lucky that no one was injured from that, but I do believe technically the structure is now considered damaged. I'm just rechecking that here.
Alright, so what is the ship going to be rolling?
So
I
in a
should
moment
figure it
here,
out.
it is going to be rolling structure and con for an evasive action. However, what I need to double check is something as pertains to the breach rules. For all of you wondering what the GM is going on about, there is obviously, since Star Trek is a dual space and ground setting, there's a slightly different way of treating injuries between ships versus people, of course. Here you have every hit you take impacts a system of some sort, which there are 6 main systems: computers, communications, engines, weapons, sensors, and structure. And for every hit where you don't have your defensive shields up, it causes damage or in the form of one of those breaches. And depending on the size of the ship, when you hit certain numbers of breaches, that begins to impact you negatively. So let's see, yes, as a scale 2 ship, the Yawn with a single breach to structure, that is considered damage. And that means that, let's see, okay, that doesn't actually cause a complication for any actions related to it, but you do have a reduced resistance here. So you may go ahead and roll with, let's see, Cheesy, you can roll with daring and con, and you would be supported by the ship's structure and con.
May I add my astrophysics focus?
Um,
Oh.
I don't think astrophysics quite applies. Also, stand by.
Kill the
Wait.
bot.
Yes. Hold on, I need to go through this other thing. Eventually, when I have the emotes, this is going to be so much more fun because I'll be able to shoot beams from my eyes. But yes,
Hey,
no bots here. Anyway, yes, we vaporized them. So I'm going to
The
rule
ship
no,
goes
astrophysics does not apply.
okay.
But you don't need it anyway because wait, um,
That was without
I
it.
rolled for the ship. The ship
Yeah.
got 1.
Real quick, Cheesy, what is your con discipline?
My con?
Yes.
Also 3.
Okay, it's unaffected. I was just going to well, actually, without the focus, that part doesn't matter anyway. Okay, so with 3 successes, 2 rolled by Bahan and the third by the ship, you manage to roll the ship out of the way and just narrowly dodge the main wave as the ship soars upward. And we are on the wrong bridge set because these people are not on the crew or are not on the bridge right now. Oh, sorry. Apparently, after switching places around, I got things a little mixed up there. There we go. So let's try that again. With the 3 successes, 2 from um, 2 successes from Bahan and 1 from the ship, you manage to input the proper commands into the helm, fire the thrusters, and soar over the incoming wave, which, as with many a sci-fi trope, moves out in a horizontal fashion, and you manage to dodge that. The ship rattles a bit around you, but that soon begins to fade away, as does the bright light of the explosion, where once there was a station, it now appears to have been almost completely vaporized, scarcely small bits of hull and rapidly dissipating gas there. Uh, for his part, Kresic will... go ahead.
No, I was just going to say little tiny little bits of ionizing matter.
Precisely. Kresic will look to the... will slump forward a little, looking further into the bridge. What happened? I do not know. I'm sorry. He'll smack the he'll smack the console and initiate the communications. Transporter room. What happened? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I may have misbeamed that a little bit. What do you mean? Well, I meant to put it like somewhere in the weapons bay or maybe near a power conduit, but it kind of bounced off the distortion field that they're using to make transporters and communication and all that more difficult. It kind of bounced off that and landed on the refueling line between the station and the bird of prey. It blew up right on the main deuterium supply line. Uh, I'm 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 really sorry. Uh, don't tell the captain unless it's a glorious victory. Then tell the captain by all means. I want him to know I'm doing these things for him.
You know, Doctor, statistically speaking, this is a victory.
You've spent too long around these Klingon soft skins, Bahan.
Well, think about it. There's no witness.
They sent off a distress call before we inadvertently blew them up. We shall have to do what we can to support the crew from here. Mr. Vopry, open a channel. Channel open. The GM will bring the other players into this. Right. Back on the surface, whatever shots have recently been ringing out, there has been a momentary pause on that attack. A noticeable moment where shots had stopped, and indeed the advance seemed to have momentarily halted. The crew of there had been one group trying to make an assault near the front entrance of the bar where you are located. They have not been able to quite cross the threshold, or rather, they've not crossed the open ground. Partly it was made more difficult by the fact that grenades have been beamed down and that they detonated, destroying a large portion of that first squad to advance. And as a result, there's not just there isn't just craters they have to mine, but they are actively burning with thermite, still ignited and creating very hazardous conditions to cross through. So,
If I recall correctly, there were 3 groups of Klingons, and we blew up 2 of them.
There were actually closer to, I want to say they were closer to like 5 groups of them that you've blown up, or rather 5 groups that remained, but you've blown up 2. One of them was depleted in the initial fighting, although the leaders are near there, so I'd say there's still about 60% of the force, just a little north of that, but they are kind of
that's right.
diffused right now.
You wanted to take threat for all of the ones that we killed, and seeing as there were 12 of them, you were going to have 12 threat. But you changed your mind on that.
The GM was a bit lenient here.
Skill issue.
In any case, yes, there's been more than a noticeable dip in the tempo, and you haven't heard any of the corresponding kabooms to suggest that it has anything to do with another set of grenades being beamed down.
Okay.
Cap.
Can any of us see from inside the building the station that was exploding, seeing it was essentially in geosynchronous orbit?
You guys aren't so close to the windows. You would actually be relying on the communications in order to hear about it at first.
But somebody is up on the 2nd floor.
Yes, the assassin that you put to bed.
People.
Well, no, I don't believe anyone is upstairs now, save for the
there's
assassin.
Somebody outside. Zynol is outside.
Ah, yes, he would also know. Captain.
Yes, Zynol.
This deviates a little from my Overwatch role as I was doing it, but well, I suppose it'd be more appropriate to say that I'm underwatching, or one might have even said stargazing if I didn't know better.
Get to the point.
Well, it just seems that now there is an additional light in the sky, or was a moment ago. Something directly over us. I don't suppose our ship is still around.
Good shot. Beep, 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 beep. Tabak to Yan. Tabak to Yan. Come in.
Captain.
Pressing. All right, the ship still exists. What happened?
There was an unfortunate incident.
Uh-huh.
The bird of
Can we be a little more specific?
the bird of prey is gone, but the
Not bad.
refueling station is also destroyed.
That's partially bad. I assume that also means that the jamming is no longer in play.
It is not, but the station was able to broadcast a distress call before they were destroyed.
Did we blow up the station?
The fault partially lies with us.
Well, clean up the logs and get the yawn down and hover over this bar and threaten the other idiots outside, please.
We will prepare the ship for atmospheric descent.
Thank
Stand
you.
by, Captain.
I will switch channels over to I guess it's still an open channel that they were trying to talk to me on, correct?
Yes. In any case, they would be listening on that frequency.
Okay. So, it appears that you no longer have a ship.
Oh, that was mine then.
Yes.
Great Shah. That's no good, isn't it?
Not at all. I suggest you leave.
On what ship?
Your own 2 feet.
Oh, they're not
Mine is coming here. Not my feet, my ship.
Well, that's awful convenient, but I think that I'm going to have to take advantage of that. Take the ship, take my quarry, and be off.
Don't think so. That's not how this is going to work.
Oh,
How many more of your men must I kill?
as many as it takes to get the job done, or for them to get the job done, or at least I suppose to so block up your guns that we can get in close and do this properly with blades. You know, I did offer single combat when we started this, and I'd be perfectly happy to give you that honor. You'd at least die well.
So how do the rest of your men feel about dying for a worthless cause?
Oh, that cause is even more necessary now. This is for survival.
You can survive on this planet.
Oh, not if my ship was still
Someone
docked.
will come eventually. Someone will eventually come to find you.
Yes, I'm sure, given that my ship was still docked at that station, that the Empire will be here at some point or another, and they're not going to be too keen on taking the explanation of how their station blew up and that we were even remotely involved. Though, I of course wouldn't be surprised if it was an incidental loss in your raid, so rather than take my chances in labeling you as...
What raid is that?
Oh,
exactly.
I suppose that you won't be here when I tell them about how a rogue Klingon vessel attacked my ship and the station while they were still docked together, and how it blew up. At least that's the backup plan, anyway. I don't.
So you would lie. You have no honor.
Did you destroy the station?
No. We destroyed the ship.
And the station with it?
The ship unfortunately destroyed the station.
That's very backwards logic, Captain, and frankly,
Not at all.
I know that when the Empire...
Your ship was the target.
Silence, you Tobach! I'm trying to monologue here. Anyway, what I know is that when the when when the Empire gets here, they're going to listen to whatever story it is, and they're going to hunt both of us down until they're satisfied. That's all they care about at the end of the day. The appropriate number of corpses for their honor. That's why.
Well, then I guess I'll have to provide them with more.
Well, there's certainly going to be a lot of dead by the end of this day.
Quite.
Just know that when I leave, Captain,
You
well,
will be going straight to Stovacor.
you'll have to tell me what it's like. I'm not the one that's going to be dying. I never am.
Oh, so you're planning on going to Grethor instead, are you?
You know what? I may not be able to die, but I'm sure a good many of us are, and, well, you know the old saying.
Which one?
HeghmoH Jajram. And he closes the channel.
I'm sure we'll kill enough of them that if they get on our ship, Junior will finish them off.
Well,
Azek's going to chime in and say that, Captain, it would be my pleasure to go one-on-one combat with this Kiya coward in
As
your
would I,
honor.
Captain.
no offense, Azek, you could only go one-on-one.
I can do more than that. You've seen me fly the ship.
Tabak is currently chewing his own teeth not to make the reply he wants to make.
Let me prove myself in battle and deal with this honorless pig something Klingon curse word.
Pata. Mr. GM, question. What are
Yes.
the walls of this shack made out of?
Some sort of indigenous material. You think that, definitely mostly stonework. You think that some of it's probably reinforced by other building materials, like there might be some prefabricated metal in parts of this, but
Can we knock some holes in the walls?
you probably could.
Like around the bar?
Like you think
The black sections right there by the front door. What are those? Areas we haven't. Yeah, like that one.
These over here, those are essentially, well, they're not represented on here, but essentially the bartender will have already shown Raldar to the smaller one on the left and basically indicated that is where he has a kitchen active. Basically, it's somewhat reinforced with other materials. The other bit is like storage closets and possibly possibly even like a small shack where he himself might catch some sleep from time to time.
All right, Raldar, how goes your plasma grenade that you're making out of the guy's microwave oven?
Believe that
Pretty
was
good.
still in the works last time. If you want to give me a roll on this, Raldar, let's call it control and engineering.
Can I assist?
I will.
Me being an engineer and all.
I'll allow you to get in close and take a look.
All right.
What am I rolling?
Okay. Let's see here. I think that this would also be a control and engineering role to assist. I'm going to. Well, I was going to set the difficulty a little higher, but since I didn't say so before you got the chance to roll, Raldar, I'll just say it's a difficulty 3, and no help from Tabak there. So I'm going to say that when last we left off, Raldar, you had pulled out you'd been able, with Kelsa's help, or Kelshaw's help rather, you had been able to pull out the basically the plasma fuel cells that would help make this or basically make the like the power cell for the grenade or rather for the stove you had been able to dislodge, and you were in the process of starting to convert it. That process is going slower than you would have expected, and indeed you may be just a little shy on the proper tools. I would allow you, if you would like, to succeed at cost.
How badly do you boys want this bomb?
He's already got 8 threat.
Well, I'll tell you what, I could impose a narrative disadvantage instead of a or instead of taking the threat in order to buy that.
I like
Raldar,
narrative.
it's up to you. It's
Yeah,
up to you,
let's
sir.
fucking
We
deal with
are
this
all
narrative.
out of momentum. Actually, didn't we not get momentum?
No, you didn't manage to get any momentum from either roll. That said, let me.
No, from the roll from the Han
Oh, Bahan's roll did not
avoiding.
manage either. He was right on the
He
difficulty of
avoided.
3
No,
to avoid the shockwave.
oh, we only got the 3.
Yeah. Let me take a look, however, just to see. No, there's nothing in the pool right now. So, yes, you are out of momentum presently. Um, though there may be chances to gain it, if at no other point, then in battle. So, Roldar, would you prefer damage or portability?
Damage or portability, huh?
I'm assuming you're referring to the bomb itself.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Damage.
Okay. Well, Raldar, you found that there's a bit of a problem with the plasma cells that were in the stove at this point. They are indeed very much depleted, more so than even you fully realized, such that it's actually going to be very difficult to do much of use with them. Um, the one way essentially that these cells could be any sort of a useful weapon and deal damage to their full potential would be to essentially keep all of the cells connected together. You have the casing with the plasma cells arrayed in such a way. You were thinking maybe if you could dislodge them separately, then you could, if they were of sufficient charge, you could improvise something with an explosive. But the way that they are depleted, it makes it impractical to do anything significant with that. In order to get the level of explosion that you'd be looking for, really slightly more than like they're not going to be good as isolated one-off grenades. Um, but if you keep them together, you could still have a usable explosive, essentially.
So we would get one big kaboom instead of several smaller kabooms.
I mean, it's really to the point where the small ones wouldn't actually. It would scarcely be a kaboom.
I'm just saying if it's keep it all together, we can get one big kaboom. Then that's the only real effective way to do it.
Yes.
Yes.
That does mean that it is going to be very difficult to effectively wield because this plasma cell is bulky and unwieldy. Even for you, throwing this would be more difficult um, than what you would have wanted to do. And it's almost better as a fixed charge, except for the fact that um, if it's somewhere in close proximity to you, then it would be a problem in terms of that. You might be able to maybe sacrifice somebody's scanner or a communicator and rig up a detonator if you really want to go that route, but that's going to still take another task.
Well, see, I'm thinking of a thing called physics, and I mean, Dakir has a sash he's probably not going to be using. Come on.
Uh-huh.
You're not taking my sash.
Uh-huh.
You there, Taybok, tell your Hadebach to keep his claws to himself.
I need a sling.
Careful what you call my crew. We need something. I'm assuming you're going to use that Raldar to fling this bomb at someone.
If I can't throw it right, then centrifugal force will be my friend.
There you go. You'll get it back. Don't worry about it.
He draws his knife. That's not happening.
Do you want to stay here and die?
Well,
Like a patak? Or do you want to get out of here and live?
Vegta might be a fool, but he's not wrong about one thing. Today is a very good day to die.
Yeah, well, dying drunk isn't getting you into Stovacor.
Oh, it's not just dry. If I died drunk, fell over, then maybe you would be right. But
You're just going to fall over, and someone's going to stab you in the back of the head.
I'm prepared to test those complications, he says, reaching into a pack that he had slung over and pulling a mek'leth. Come on, Captain, where's your warrior spirit? Has it gone with
I am not your enemy. My enemy is outside, and that's the same as your enemy.
Then why not take battle to them?
Because I want them to run into our guns and our bombs. Fewer of them to kill with knives. We can get to the knifing soon enough. I'd rather have the odds a little bit more in our favor. I may die today, but I will not die stupidly. Which, funny enough, is one of his values.
You wanna make a roll out of that to try and persuade Dirkir?
Oh, I might as well.
All right,
Nothing else seems to be working with this guy.
presence and command.
Oh Lord!
And it will be contested against his
2 dice, I'm assuming, yes.
Correct.
And none of my focuses are going to apply. All right. Praying to the dice gods. Nope. There we go.
Okay. Were you I suppose I meant to ask there right beforehand if you were intending to invoke that value as a means of using your point of determination.
In retrospect, that might not be a bad idea.
Are you going to take the automatic critical success, or was your intent did you want to use it to re-roll the complication that you have rolled there?
Well, only one of those effects applies, I'm assuming, yes?
You only get one.
Uh-huh. And we've got no momentum.
Indeed, it is too late to buy.
You know what? I will take the automatic success.
All right, so that'll give you 3 successes. Unfortunately, he is also going to tap his determination with the value glory or death, just to give me the chance. And I'm dropping a point of threat in order to buy 1 additional die for him. I'm going to roll this against his control and security. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well, I won't count that second roll.
Can our complications simply counter each other?
I would be prepared to allow that. And he considers the technically, with the way that roll worked out, you have so Dirk here has rolled a single success, but has rolled a complication, just as the captain did. So you are effectively tied up. I will allow the complications to negate each other, and because we have a tie of 3 successes each with the automatic crits in play, the initiative does go to you. Dirk here is just going to look at his sash here, and he'll just pull it off. He'll pull one small item that seems to adorn it off. It's like, you know what? Keep it. Presuming it even works to launch that thing, I think it looks funnier on you, he says to Raldar.
And I look him in the eyes if I just rip it in half for this purpose.
Oh, please do rip it in half.
Oh no.
What do you think it's going to be used for?
What? It separates. There's a clasp. You just separate the clasp and use it like a sling.
Ugh. See, this is why you can't trust them with your with the valuable things. Sure, there's nothing like that on your ship, eh, Captain?
Raldar, are you ready to throw the thing? Do you need covering fire?
Probably, I gotta wind it up.
What's
Okay.
Woe armed with again?
She's got a pretty good sized disruptor rifle, in addition to her usual set of gear. Woe is positively festooned with weapons.
Yeah, kind of figured. All right, so here's what I think we're going to need to do. All 4 of us, leaving Dakir inside, we're gonna have to run out the front door real quick. Woe in the front, then me, then Azik, and we're going to lay down suppressing fire. And then Raldar is going to launch that thing probably at the leader. So I'm going to have to check with Zional to find out which group the leader is in.
Okay. Let me
So I
get.
think that might be a good thing to do.
Alright. As we're doing that, allow me to give Zional just one very quick roll here. Let's see, that would be insight plus security for him. And I will allow his focus to come into play. Captain, I am keeping an eye on the concentration of our mercenary foes. I can see it looks like the at least most of the remaining warriors are gathering just beyond that ridge in the front entrance of the bar.
Can you estimate range?
Oh, I'd put it at about 5 calicams, maybe 6 from your position, based on how,
Helicams?
or rather, what the equivalent of whatever the singular of a meter would be. Is it cam? What it in Earth speak? It's for the audience because that's the more convenient unit for above board. But just imagine we're doing this properly. It's about maybe 12, 15 meters from your location. Based on how they are arraying themselves, I believe that they intend to storm the front and attempt to take a shot, or well, attempt to just break through the defenses.
All right. Keep me advised when they're about to make their attack.
Oh,
You are you're still only armed with knives.
why, yes, Captain. I have not had a chance to stop by an armory or otherwise acquire any additional weapons. I'm far more useful up here. Wouldn't you agree?
At the moment, yes. Raldar, are you ready?
Yeah, unless the DM wants me to make a check to tie a knot.
You know, I will just allow you to prepare for that. And I'm also going to take a moment to answer a question by our own, or by a visitor from the chat, one luckless panda. Oh, that's a familiar name, isn't it? What tabletop session or other streaming campaign have I seen them in before? Um,
That sounded very sarcastic, sir.
in any case, the the viewer is asking about a feature that comes with our with the channel now that we are an affiliate. You can spend the quatlus, the channel points that you are steadily acquiring. You'll notice just kind of at the bottom in your, or on the bottom right, right below the, or not the bottom right. It's in that same column as the chat, the roughly circular looking object with the steadily increasing number. You can spend those quatlus to do any number of things. Over time, as you gain them, there would be there'd be the opportunity to create complications, create advantages, grant momentum or threat. You can increase or decrease the difficulty. Um,
And it would be bad form of the players to do that, wouldn't it?
oh, I suppose you were gone the last time that I made a ruling on this, but I've decided players don't affect those outcomes for their own game. Oh, and thank you very much, Panda, there for the subscription. I expect I am not surprised by the excellent judgment and discerning tastes of the captain of the Aegis.
Oh, it begins. It begins.
Yes, yes. You, for those of you that were not here for, or rather for the that don't watch Aegis, one member of the crew did watch Aegis, and they spent channel points in order to do that.
To help them or hinder them?
Uh, well, I don't know. To help them or hinder them there. Yeah?
What did you do, Ray? No, Ray's not even here. No, what did you do?
the first one who blames is Ray.
Well, I was also making a Ghostbusters reference, so
It just worked conveniently.
very
But,
much so.
but yes, now there's a steady load up here, and oh, let's see.
How boned are we now?
And vengeance is steadily coming. Be thankful that the tactical officer isn't presently here. So far as I know, they are um, quite a bit more. Well, they've been a more frequent viewer. I'll say that much. Let's see here. I'm just taking a quick look here, just to look at a thing in the background. All right. So I think that I think we're good to. Well, I think we're good to go for now. But just know another sword hangs over you. Um, but until that trigger gets pulled, let us just go about this here. But yes, for your newest explosive, it is going. I will rule that you have to use the prepare action to work up the knot, or base. It's a minor action, so this will allow you to use the weapon. Um, This is also going to have the quality of, I believe the phrase is cumbersome, which means that you cannot aim with this to make any correction in terms of slinging it out. It's either that. No, cumbersome might be the one that just requires you to prepare beforehand. Let me double check the weapon qualities just to be absolutely certain here. So we have. Okay, yes. You cannot attack without the prepare minor action, which you've already done. Inaccurate. That's what I was talking about. It's a bit of a clumsy weapon, so and you can do very little to change that with the very makeshift sling. So you will not benefit from the aim minor action when you use this Raldar.
That's fine.
All right. Captain, I believe that the Klingons are beginning to make their attack.
Swoop.
Does am I still? Oh no. Oh, I'd better switch around
Yep.
frequencies.
I hear you.
Okay. I don't know if we lost Tabak there. Oh, there's apparently cheesecake. Well, I guess the captain will pay for his inaction or rather will pay for his cheesecake and blood as
No,
the
I'm back. I'm back.
I am going to allow the squad of the ghom HeghmoH to get the first move here. Um, Captain, they have broken up into, it looks, groups of 4. Thus, they will get a single bonus D20 to all of their actions, and you'll have to deal out damage to them on a squad by squad basis. It looks like. So let's see what first.
Which one has the commanding officer?
None in this first one, or rather in this. Well, in any of the front echelons here. So with that, the first group of 4 is going to make an advance. I should say, rather, I'm having trouble seeing them as it is. I'm having trouble getting a view of them due to the burning of the pits where the grenades were. And as he says this, Dekoth is going to call back, Captain! Figures are trying to round the smoke. They've made it most of the way. I can take a shot from these barricades here if you wish.
Wait, the cough is upstairs, right?
No, Dekoth is just to the north, like the north of you relative to here. You have opponents coming
Oh, they're
from
coming behind.
no, the north
Okay.
is the front entrance.
Oh, I thought I was at the front entrance. I apologize.
Oh, you've been near the back of
My-
the bar this whole time.
Yeah, no, I'm supposed to be up here. I thought front was at the bottom. That was
No.
my bad.
Your orientation is slightly off, but you can compensate for it. Anyone else? You may take this opportunity to move yourselves around. Otherwise, combat will begin. So,
So yeah, just start. If the group is coming, I'm sure, and Woe will have to come up here too. The 3 of us, Woe, me, and
Dekoth.
Dekoth, will just start shooting at them.
Okay.
Dekoth and myself from down low, Woe from up high. Like we'll
All,
kneel
all,
so Woe can shoot over our heads.
all right. Do you would you like one? Would you like to act first specifically, or would you prefer that one of the others take the role?
Oh, actions. There's a whole list of actions. command task. That's what I'm looking for.
Out of curiosity, what is upstairs?
Um, from what you would have picked up from either the bartender or Woe as she's been there, this essentially appears to be a tavern where, um, or the equivalent of a tavern, so people might come down in this common area for mostly drink, maybe a small bit of food, but otherwise have the opportunity to, what would it be? Have the opportunity to rest their weary head.
So it's
Also,
lodging with no windows.
yes. Also, well, no, there might be some windows. Also, thank you for the bit there, Panda, and for the sub, I stand by here. Let's see. Go right ahead. Okay, so yes, there may be some windows upstairs in the individual rooms. Woe was a little short on the details for you.
Okay. So I'm going to use the direct task and have Woe do some automatic suppressing fire at the mob of Klingons trying to come in through the front door.
Okay, so she is going to level her disruptor rifle with the direct action. You may use presence and command to assist her with where she is rolling control and security. Let's see. Just double checking my. I believe yes, that would be an assist. So you would
Ooh,
be.
I helped.
Yep, you got the single die there, and whoa, let's see how she does. Okay, well, that is no successes with
Can she
one
re-roll
complication.
that? Does she have any values that we can have her spend her determination to
I
not
will
blow up a rifle in her face?
I will let her tap the value. Let's see. The pack is truly strongest together. You are working together to fight off these mercenaries. So she will get the chance to re-roll, and she gets 3 successes. So with that, she is going to try to. She's going to have a bit of trouble seeing it first, but with a moment more and with your steadying influence, Tabak, Woe is
Mm-hmm.
going to take aim and get off a series of shots, which will, that
Ooh.
is one, two,
Oh,
three,
oh
four,
my.
5 effects, with Vicious one that is 10 points of damage there, plus another 3. So that'll be a total of 13 points of damage. Woe doing the spooky numbers tonight. And so let's see.
Buddha, 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 Buddha. That's a lot of Buddhas.
Yeah, and I'm going back to my squad rules. See, since we have such a large number of potential attackers, I opted to use
Mm-hmm.
a special rule that shows up in both in the operations manual of Star Trek Adventures or the Ops Division. It also shows up in the free to play or like the free to use Red Alert supplement. That Modifius has, and it's basically a way to do a quick setup, something a little more tactically inclined, and particularly useful with miniatures. But it's very useful for like helping to keep track of everything that you would do in combat. One of the rules that they impose is it is a squad rule set, which basically establishes when you have like so many units to be represented by a single model or token
Mm.
that they just you can treat them as one entity and they gain bonuses to their um, ability to perform task roles. They also gain bonus challenge dice for damage or other relevant tasks. Um, in order to evaluate their stress or the amount of damage they can take, you basically take that unit, and it is always 1 plus the security discipline. So that, for this squad, each of them, if I'm not mistaken, that is a discipline of 2. So 2 plus 1, each individual unit has 3 stress, and you multiply that in order to take the total, or to assess the total. So the thing is, that squad altogether only had 12 stress.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, I don't think they have resist. Well, wait a minute. Technically, they do. No, actually, they're Koha, so they don't even have the raQpo to save them.
Ooh.
Yeah. Whoa. That in that moment of steadying herself, she just completely mows down the group of warriors. Each one greeted by a flurry of disruptor bolts, and just deep growls and screams as they go down and fall. Some of them rolling over, already dead, but their bodies being burned into the pits of into the burning pits of the where the thermite grenades were detonated.
Wow. Okay, so we've got a really bad barbecue with dog hair. Okay.
It smells awful.
Oh yeah. It smells like awful, awful. See what I did there? Anyway.
Yes, yes. In any case, so you annihilate the first attacking group that was assembled.
So that makes 3 out of the 5, right?
Well, they slightly rearranged things as far as you gathered, because you were aware that you had destroyed 2 full groups, or about 12 of them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
At least one of them was, or at least one Klingon was vaporized by Vegta himself earlier, and I think at least one more died in the initial firefight where everyone was retreating back into the bar.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I think that was the session where you were gone.
Yeah, yeah, and apparently I was the one who killed him, so go me.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So well, that would you're tipping very close to 50% of the force at this point. I think that, yeah, you would have exceeded that with Woe's extremely effective strike.
Very much so. Okay. We don't have.
So,
Did we gain any momentum there?
uh, yes, you did, because there was that was a difficulty 2 task, and you did score 3 successes after the re-roll. So, you know what? For doing as well as you did to direct that task, you get to be the momentum officer.
Woot. Okay.
Congrats.
I don't see any point in retaining. We would need 2 anyway to retain initiative, right?
That is correct.
So I goes to them now.
All right.
Unless unless you want to, I don't know, go back to deal with people on the ship and hurry them up to get them down here faster.
I think that some combat is still going to be necessary here because the ship is contending with the damage that it took the last time.
Gotcha. Can't
But
blame a guy for trying.
yeah, the turn will go back to you. And before I go into that next action, I will go ahead and say to those in chat, or very specifically to the one in chat, your company is always welcome at my digital table, so think nothing of it. But I'm nonetheless grateful for the bits and subs. So that is uh, our good captain from the Aegis, Luckless Panda there, who is steadily preparing to take his revenge. It may not be this session, it may not be this adventure, but it'll come. Anyway,
What did you people do? You're coming from other games to get to destroy us. What did you people do?
I'm going to drop a point of threat here to buy an additional die for the next squad, who's going to make a roll to charge your position once more. How? How do you roll 4 zeros?
Well, you needed tens. You had a 50% chance on every single one of those. So 50, 25, 12 and a half.
Yep.
You
Well,
had a five and a what 3/4% chance of actually rolling 4 zeros.
you have a point. However, well, with no successes whatsoever, they're not going to be able to round the pits in any meaningful way. This has
Well,
the
they
added.
just watch the sun down their buddies, so you know.
Well, they can. Part of the issue is that it is a bit difficult to see at this point. They're more likely smell their buddies than actually see them, or indeed anything right now. As I imagine, burning Klingon is going to yield quite a bit of smoke. And man, is it pungent. So
Not as bad as burnt Gok Pocket.
certainly not.
You don't ever get to put one of those in the microwave again. I'm telling you.
Well, none presently exist. Um, Anyway, the turn order does pass back to you. Because nobody has managed to close the distance yet, you are presently what is it? Everyone is kind of still at a longer range, such that without a rifle, you would be taking any shot at an increased difficulty of 3.
Yeah, and I don't want my gun to explode in my hand.
Yeah.
Um,
So Tabak, Raldar, you may act. Azek, you also may act if you wish.
can I use? Oh, wait, I can act.
Yes, you are.
Oh, but I already used the command action, so
Fair
I
enough.
can't use
I
it
guess.
again.
Yeah, I guess technically that has allowed both you and Woe to act here. So I guess Raldar, Azek, one of you can take a move.
The cost.
Dekoth could also technically do things. He only has a pistol right now. That and a
Okay,
spear.
so- Can I speak? I'm not necessarily, ordering anybody, but am I allowed to speak and make suggestions to my crew?
Certainly, certainly. Talking is a free action
Azek,
in this
get
case.
upstairs and shoot out of a window. There's got to be one up there.
All right, I'll head upstairs.
Okay, Azek, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and grab your token here.
Mr. GM,
Or,
I'm looking at the drawing, and the tables are up against the walls. There's something between each table and the wall. Is that a window?
yes, they are mostly blocked.
On the inside or the outside?
The inside. By the tables. Look, it's a crude representation, but it's what I can do. Cut me some slack.
No, the slack is totally cut. Don't worry about that.
Very good. I am a good GM. I am a good GM.
Mm-hmm.
I make
Yes,
games
you
go.
Games go burr. I've given one suggestion. I don't suppose there's time for me to give another one to Dekoth, or should I wait until the next bout or the next round?
I think it'd be better off to wait. So let's
Then
see.
I wait.
For whatever reason, the upstairs set doesn't want to work. So Azek, I'm just going to I'm going to mark your token in a different way. Let's call it. Uh, let's mark you with this castle symbol here, or this tower symbol, to indicate that you have high ground. I'll tell you what. Just purely for fluff, give me a. Let's call this a one. Stand by. I've gone into the wrong one, and now I'm sure everything looks horribly janky for the streaming audience at home. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to cut that out later. All right. Go ahead and give me the roll of a 1d4.
4.
Okay.
Okay.
You open one of the nearest rooms once you get up the stairs, and you find tucked in and presently unconscious what appears to be the gentleman you were interrogating earlier with Woe.
She really did tuck him in.
She took care of him.
I can't remember. Was this a good interrogation or was this a bad interrogation?
I mean, it went okay, but I think they did wind up knocking him unconscious, and his ankle was already broken from earlier. The antics that occurred before you and the rest of the crew got here.
Well, I don't know who this guy is, and so I'm just going to go to his window.
Okay.
Wait, did you not see him?
No, you
before?
did. You were over. You were. He was drunk at the time, to be fair. So Ezek may be just like, oh, sorry, I don't want to wake you.
Okay.
No, I don't care about waking him up. I'm gonna go shoot out the window.
Oh, it's more he is one of your enemies, basically. But he is not presently a threat to you.
No.
Okay.
If I have to, I can kneel on him to. Well, like I'm picturing the kind of your typical tavern room where the bed is up against the window or up against the wall, and the window's just slightly next to it. And so, if I have to, I can sit on the guy and shoot out the window if needed.
That's perfectly fair and conforms to the layout. So, with the relative height, the first thing that you get when you open the door is a bit of smoke from the burning Klingons and thermite pits that have been ignited. It's awful. But you do have some sight from above. I'm going to say if you want to take a shot, it will still be at a difficulty 3. For whatever sight advantage height gives you, you're still at a longer distance with the disruptor, and the smoke is creating issues for you to aim.
I take a deep breath in and gawk pockets, and we will attack with the disruptor pistol at range.
Yep, there is the one squad that has crossed over the ridge and is struggling to try and find their way around. You can barely make them out. It seems that where the first one charged down roughly the center, the second one is coming to roughly the left side of the doorway, or northwest relative to the map everyone's looking at.
So do I roll the...
It would be control and security that you roll.
That's security and weapon damage. Hang on.
Well, the weapon damage is after you hit them. You need to roll control plus security in the task roller in order to hit them in the first place.
But I do like his initiative, going straight to the damage roll.
Yeah, if only.
Well, in a lot of Roll20 character sheets, the weapon is automatically calculated, but that's okay.
The weapon is automatically calculated by the
for damage.
Yes,
but not for attack. I'm nitpicking. This is a difficulty 3, you said?
Yes.
That's going to be pain. Can I use composure for my focus on this one?
Mm.
Can't,
I
that's a stretch.
don't.
We're
Yeah, I
good.
don't think so. Composure's for more social combat than physical
I see
combat.
Tabak has 1 momentum, but I'm just going to let him hold on to that, and we shoot. Hey,
Well, that's.
can
Go ahead.
I succeed at cost?
I will allow you to do that.
Good.
So go ahead and, well, let me ask, would you prefer to pay for that success at cost in threat or a narrative complication?
I was thinking narrative complication because I'm shooting right next to a dude that's sleeping. So
Very good. All right. So go ahead and make your damage roll. So that is
pew, pew.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 10 points of damage. The squad that is struggling to find its way around is like the situation that they found themselves in. It actually has effectively kind of boxed them into a very narrow sort of area. They are trying to navigate the craters, the flames, the smoke, and the spurts of fire coming out from Woe's rifle, and it just so happens to perfectly present you a target that it is like shooting gach in a barrel, thus allowing you to eliminate most of the enemy soldiers in that squad of 4 with one shot there.
With the narrative complication as the guy, if you don't mind me stepping in here with that, as the guy laying in bed wakes up with, I'm figuring rather shockingly, I look over at him and say, "The captain calls me useless." Ha ha. And yeah.
Yep. And as he wakes up, he's just going to there'll be the moment of shock and surprise, but that determination turns to cold rage as he throws off the blanket and with a with what strength he
Barbaric
can,
yop.
yeah, and what strength he can muster, he's going in for a tackle on you. So this is going to be a contested daring and security roll. And because you have somewhat taken him by surprise here, he actually gets a talent that comes into play, HeghmoH, and that will give him a bonus D20.
Hey, now I'm not that kind of visitor.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Both to the commentary and to the fact that the soldier only managed to roll a single D20, or rather a single success, and just
Welcome
shy
to the
of a
party,
crit, too.
pal.
Oh God, you're going to adopt this man, aren't you?
No, that's not what I meant. I'm just welcome to the party of really bad die rolls.
Is he now on the floor?
Well, no,
He is
he
now.
still scored a success to charge at you, so you
With a
do
broken leg?
you do get to contest. He managed at such an angle as to not exacerbate that yet, but he is still somewhat injured here.
Well, seeing how I'm one armed, I'm going to pistol whip him. Just give him a nice.
All right, daring and security. Okay,
I could have used a focus on that.
Well,
Hand-to-hand combat.
well, I can retroactively say that while the dice roll there reads as 2 successes, that 1 on the left was technically a 3, so I will count that as a critical success here, since you do have an applicable focus, which means that you do earn 2 momentum in the process.
All right.
And we switch it back over. We switch it over to melee for the disruptor pistol.
Yes,
I don't know if that changes anything, but there's a tab for it.
So let's see. That will, I think, because technically it's more of an improvised weapon or a bludgeon, it does, I think, lose the vicious quality to it. Let me take one more look. I have it up in the other one, I believe.
I think that's just more of a constraint of the sheet. I
Beg your pardon?
think that's more just a convenience of the sheet.
Yes, yes. Let's see here. I had the equipment actually up right here because I was consulting it for the purpose of the grenades. I think that is actually further up than where I had it. Uh, Blasted moon speak that is Klingon. There we go. Alright, so bludgeon would actually be that would be one less challenge die technically and have the knockdown effect. So I will shave off one of those effects just because that's the last die in the cycle there. But that still gives you 6 points of damage, plus you knock him prone. That is enough for a non-lethal injury. So you just smash that pistol right into his face, break his nose, and send him unconscious to the floor with a non-lethal injury.
And we got some momentum. So there you go, Captain.
Yep. Captain Tight Pants. Oh, wait, sorry, wrong show.
All right. So that is.
Or the very right show.
Yes, that's a very good show.
Anyway, the Azek will report back down then of his successes and the this. Well, at least that you will hear the pistol going off several times, and
How many
they
did you
hear
get?
they hear the pistol going off. They hear a loud thud. The captain hollers up, "Hey, are you okay up there?" It's like, "Yeah, t-shirt fell on the floor." And it's pretty loud for a t-shirt. Well, there was a body in it.
oh dear, oh dear. Well, let's
All
see.
right.
Let's see if the other squad can acquit themselves in any way decently as they make their final charge here. No, they still get just as stuck amongst the hazards and whatnot, so they're not going to be making it to uh, in that far. Um, let's see, over the comms.
In my head, I've gone from the Star Trek original series combat music to yakety sax.
It does seem particularly. It does seem like they are acquitting themselves particularly poorly. Um, they're dying stupidly, but maybe they yet might earn some honor.
Oh no, the
But
barge of the dead's gonna be a little full today, I think.
okay, but let's see. Raldar, would you like to do anything, or do you want one of the NPCs to take an action here?
I mean, I think I've just been prepping to throw this thing and get when the order is ready.
Okay. So, well, I would be prepared to let you hold that order if you so wish.
I think I shall.
All right. In that case, I suppose I can have Dekoth roll here if you would like him to try and take a shot at this last squadron here. He does so with a slight increase in difficulty just because of his pistol armament, but
Mm-hmm.
he can still shoot
Go
technically.
for it. Shoot at him, Dakov. Do it.
I shall do my best not to let you down, Captain. And his shots are going to miss through the smoke. It's unfortunately at a bad angle for him. Ah,
It's
blast.
okay. He's behind a table shooting through a doorway through smoke at moving targets.
And at long
That's
range.
fine. And at long range.
Yep. All right. Let's see. I think at this point, I am going to drop 2 points of threat to create a bit of a narrative setback here. And with that, let's see. That'll get them in a place for this. So let's try this now. And this will be assisted here. Okay, I think that'll be enough. Um, the as you are continuing your shots outside the door, the Kuha, the mercenaries, steadily drop one by one as waves of these warriors attempt to try to traverse the rough terrain. Uh, Through the smoke, the flames, and your persistent disruptor bolts, you have a good opportunity to concentrate fire. They've very conveniently been drawing your shot, like coming right into basically the kill zone, and you've been able to concentrate your fire. This is, as you've said, Tabak, been a very easy day, and one that will leave the boat to Grethor full in all likelihood. And as a sudden rush of air and heat comes from behind all of you, Raldar, you see a burst of an explosion from the door immediately behind you. You realize they've been funneling attention from elsewhere. Storm the Pataks!
Merry Christmas.
Or the Klingon equivalent thereof.
Okay, you're making the effort to try and throw out the the improvised plasma explosive.
Yes.
All right,
All he's got to do is get it down the hallway.
I'm going to ask you for. Let's see. This is going to be a control and security roll. I'm going to
All
rule
right.
the
Go ahead,
difficulty
sorry.
on this is going to be 3, and I am
You know
going to
what?
spend a
You
point
know
of
what,
threat
Raldar?
to increase your
You know what,
complication
Raldar? Have
range.
all 3 of our momentum on this.
Oh
Get 2
yeah.
extra dice.
Let's do, baby. Let's do. Yes.
Yo!
Okay, you roll 5 successes there. Okay, give me Raldar. Just below your
Yes.
task roller, you see the challenge die sheet.
Yep.
Go
How
ahead,
many?
set those to. Let me check back through my notes on this one just to make sure that I have it right here. Okay, go ahead and set that to 6.
Plus security.
Yes,
All right.
6 is the. Oh yeah, 6 plus your security stat there. Let's see. Give me one more roll there because it seems to have rolled whatever your last number was.
Which was 6. All right. Then I'll just roll 4 more.
Okay, so 2, 4, 6, then 4 effects for a total of 10 damage. So that, plus that is going to include the area effect. Okay. So with all of that, just double checking this to make sure that I've got it right here. All right, so with something that effective and with the spread of the warriors, I'm going to say reach constitutes at least this center area and like the front three members of the squad essentially. So that'll basically, I think I'll allow for the effects to grant you. I think it's close enough to add basically enough for at least half of those effects there. So that'll throw in what, another. That should bring it up to 12 points, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
So that explosion is going to catch the first four who have the misfortune of trying to storm through the back entrance. As that grenade goes, or as that improvised explosive goes off, they are just going to bite it here, and with that with that vicious and like horribly deliberate, or just the sheer brutality of that particular murder. I know it's been a little wonky with how I'm taking threat, but I'm taking it for those dead men there.
You know,
Just because
there's a
you're
reason
low.
they call it forlorn hope.
Uh, but yes, with that, Raldar, you manage to leave behind a good-sized. There's a good-sized crater out the back now, with the group of people that died there. But the first of these survivors is going to come through and try to round the barricades. I guess technically he'd be backed up by one of his other remaining squad mate here, and they are going to just they're going to try and take shots at. I guess the biggest target is the big scary Gorn that just slung
Blew up their
a.
base.
Yep. So let's see what they can do. I'm not hopeful, but we'll see about this. No, it's no good at all. They roll no successes. So they are just going to blindly begin spraying disruptor shots, flying all just over your heads. In Woe's case, honestly, just like past her shoulders, which will cause her to crouch a little bit. But it all goes well
Shot
clear.
my hair.
It all goes well clear of you, Rev, or not Rev, Raldar. Sorry,
I
streamer
certainly
brain is
hope you're
apparently
shooting at
real.
Raldar and not Rev.
Yeah. Oh, it's well clear of Kresik, who is up in orbit still. But
Safety, I see.
yes, at this point, I think that since we've gone through most of the player group, we can now allow. I was waiting for most of some ground combat to happen because this is in a relatively short period of time, but I think now we can chance bringing in the crew on the ship here. So with that, I am going to, well, Steven, would you like to take a role here?
Get this thing going.
All right.
Was it supposed to be con?
Yes, so what's happening in orbit right now, as some of the displays have calmed down a little bit, uh, and Vopry has managed to get a track on things. You have you have the engines ready to be converted to an atmospheric configuration. Um, Kresik, for his part, will look over his tactical display. Bahan,
Yes, Doctor.
can you get us into atmosphere and get us close enough to them? Can you keep the ship steady?
Doctor, there's only one way to find out. You're probably gonna want to hold on to something.
That is not reassuring. And with that,
No, but it's funny.
I'm I'm going to just for the sake of this narrative and in response to the hydrate redeem there, I am going to thank you there, Luckless Panda, by the way, for the hydrate.
He's reminding us that he knows he has power.
Yes. I'm going to say that Kresic has a flask of clean water. Never leave the ship without it. But anyway, quick drink of clean water later. He says, "Take us down." And so, for atmospheric flight here, with a bit of damage that you've taken, this is going to be I think I'm going to rule it's a daring and con roll, and I'm going to set the difficulty on this to 2. But also, while this is going on, Kresic is going to use a minor action and raise the shields, since you've been without shields using the cargo transporters previously. We are not taking more chances than we have to.
I feel 1,000 times safer.
All right. Well, with that, daring and con would be your roll, Cheesy, and you are assisted by the ship's engines and con.
God.
Yes.
Okay, 2 successes. You managed to meet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to roll for the ship. Silly me. Engines and con for the ship, you said?
Yes.
All right, boat. Do your thing. Nope.
Well, no help from the engines there, but it is enough that you manage to bring the yawn into the atmosphere. There's a bit of buffeting as you navigate your way through the cloud layers and bits of occasional pockets of atmospheric turbulence, but you manage to uh, mostly compensate for it.
And bits
Any,
and pieces of space station.
well, those are mostly out of the way for you, but you do manage to navigate your way around all of that, and um, there's a bit of there's an audible boom in the atmosphere as the yawn begins to close in. Its thrusters firing off and steadying out. You now have a good vantage point to approach the settlement area. Well, we will say that you are sort of just over the location. You may elect to either fly over in passes, or you can use the thrusters to basically hover in place some ways over the atmosphere. What would be, if you were in normal space, it would effectively be station keeping.
What are your orders, Doctor?
I am not sure what the captain intended. Vopri, do you see any signs of can you make out anything of their assault? Uh, Captain, Doctor, the life signs are too close together for me to discern between friend or foe. I do not know I do not know whether who is where, whether they are indeed still around, at least the opponents. keep us in station keeping for now over the settlement.
Easy.
There is little point in us making passes while our shields are up, but they are so concerned there. However, we cannot use our disruptors to help them without great risk.
Can we use them to shoot around them, kick up a bunch of dirt and debris, block their vision? Basically, just orient them on the outside.
Kresic will look at his targeting sensors. There may be some that we could create problems for, but it seems that many are breaching the facility, or that they may have already attempted to do so. Uh, that being said, if you want Kresic to make any sort of assault from his position, I will allow the crew to take that opportunity on the next turn. However, we still have a bit of activity going in the bar at this point. So, with the initial, with those initial shots from the, what, for lack of a better term, seem to have been the cannon fodder, one Koha manages to make his way forward, and he's going to uh, angle himself from just around, kind of pushing aside the front member of the squad, or more pushing him a little forward, such that he's just out of his shot, but also like stumbled very slightly. And he's going to level his. Looks like he has a disruptor pistol. Uh, See what good that does him. Also no good. Yeah, this is, they are acquitting themselves quite dreadfully. So I think that, yeah, I will let the turn go back to you guys here. Um, Technically, all the players have acted at this point, so I am prepared to let the turn order refresh, as it were. Um, and so you may all start acting again. Tabak, you of course have, you and Woe are at the front. So you're of course capable of doing something. There are still warriors in the front of the building that would also be in your view, Azik. And Raldar, obviously, you see the foes that have shown up from behind. Um, and Cheesy, so far as you are concerned, there is an isolated group outside that if you wanted to have action taken from the ship, then I would be perfectly fine allowing that. Or if you want to try to, like, if you decide you want to bring the ship down or anything of the sort, then you've got options there.
Is our cargo transport still working?
Cargo transporters are working, yes.
Do we still have any firearms or anything that I could transport down to the group to help them?
There are probably other items in the armory. You just do not have grenades that you can give them anymore.
Oh.
But yeah, that said, what do you guys want to do next?
All right, so I'm going to use the command task of direct. Well, I'm assuming we heard the boom of the ship outside.
I would think so, yes.
All right, so using the command action, or that's right, command? Direct.
Direct, yes.
Direct. I'm calling the ship that I'm assuming is ours and saying, all the warriors outside of this bar, gun them down.
Done.
Very well, Captain. Um, Technically, Kresic is at weapons, and he could roll control and security, but if you would prefer Bahan to override him and take the shot, then that's within your prerogative.
It was
Who's
what in
prerogative?
security?
Control plus security.
Bahan is probably a better shot. Yes?
Got a 9 and a 3.
All right. And the ship is what? Systems and security? Or weapons and security?
Weapons and security, yes. This would
Alright,
be
so
a.
here comes.
I'm going to rule that you are at close range effectively, so this would be a difficulty 2 shot.
Here
Kresic
comes the
is
ship.
technically a better shot, though.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Then him for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, the ship just gives you 2 successes.
And Kresic
That's-
also scores 2. So, as you bark up the orders, Tabak, there's a moment's pause. On the bridge, Kresic just takes a beat and then begins tapping into the controls. The one group that remained essentially out, like the one unified group that remained out front that was still having trouble with the hazards is going to take a direct shot from this. Um, technically these are smaller targets, so I suppose I should have increased the difficulty, but it doesn't matter anyway.
With
That's
the targeting sensors these guys have? Anyway, sorry. I'll shut up.
that's fine. The Klingons do have very tactically oriented sensors, but I think that's more about picking up the specifics of like ship operations and or like energy signatures, metallic composition, and such. Uh, I should throw in just a few more for security. So let's throw in another 4. Because these are ship-based weapons that are taking shot against non-ship-based people. And I'm saying Kresic has configured these disruptors for a relatively minimal setting. But that is going to be...
A lot of damage.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, for this, even for that type of calibration, yeah, that is enough to vaporize the remaining squad that was out front. So there's just a stream of disruptor blasts that fly from the ship and begin strafing at the ground. If the warriors had a chance to cry out before getting hit, you might have heard. Well, you might not have heard it anyway, but chances are those shots are large enough to just catch them entirely and uh, quickly dispose of the last major concentration. There might be a straggler or 2 from the previous squads. I think for the record it is only 1 that would be in view of remembering the character there, Zionol, that he would know. But yeah, that manages to take care of that part. So for this next roll, as the turn goes back to them, I should first say you did earn back 2 points of momentum.
Thank you.
So for this next roll, there's going to be there is going to be the sound of footsteps like clattering against the paved area. As let's see if he can make it in here. Okay. So with menacing 1, Vegta's going to come in with 1 point of 1 point of threat all his own, and he's just going to charge right in. I'll go ahead and put his point into his fitness roll here. So difficulty, I'm going to call this, I think this would have to be 3 since he's trying to basically jump past the barricades. And he does get the focus on this one with storming tactics. Oh no! 2 successes and a complication. That's just shy of what he needs. I think he's going to he's going to use a value to re-roll that 1, though. I can bring them in warm or cold. Cold is better.
Oh, no.
That re-roll worked out well. He now has 4 successes on the board. So bursting past the group that were just at like the entrance, HeghmoH is going to run through and in a great leap initially seem to trip himself but quickly compensate and jump over to land himself right over the barricades and now within reach of you.
Bring it on.
Any,
Bring it on.
any day is scaly patach, and he's spending 2 threat to keep the initiative and engage you in
Oh.
melee.
I see.
So this is going to be a contested daring plus security as he brings his mek'leth into the situation. So let's see. I'll go ahead and drop 1 more point of threat just because it'd be funny. Give him a third D20. All right. Raldar, he's attacking you. You must beat his 3 successes.
Great.
You see, it's a shame I don't have my dagger
Only
out.
2, Mr. GM.
Sorry?
2.
Only 2 successes.
Well, no. Yes, you must beat 2 successes in order to do that. If you tie him up, he does get the initiative, of course. Okay, that is tied. So he does manage to win that particular contest. And let me just roll damage for the mek'leth here. So that'd be okay. So just to check, Raldar, you had the sash in your hands. You might have dropped that. What would you have basically been arming yourself with once the melee got going, or did you have a chance to even get to a weapon?
I haven't gotten a turn to draw a weapon yet.
Okay. Well, you basically had the sash then, and to be fair, you've won fights with less. But in this case, Vegta is a little bit more wily with his mek'leth, and he's going to bypass that. He's going to basically feint and then go for an underhanded slash to try and basically pull some sort of uppercut with his blade, which should land on one of your arms. So that'll be 2, 4, 5, 6, and that effect there is vicious 1.
Now, DM,
So
are
that'd
you
be-
making a lethal attack?
As a matter of fact, I think I've already specified that he's going for the arm here, so I don't think that would count as lethal, unfortunately.
Well, then I will have 3 resistance to that. Thank you.
Very good. So you still take 4 points of stress as he slices a vulnerable part of your arm.
But I don't need the spin momentum to avoid injury, so that's all that matters.
Yep. So, turn goes back to you. Raldar, you can technically act. Azek, you can still do some shooting upstairs. I suppose you could
I
give.
thought all the targets outside were dead already.
There was one isolated person that was in a squad that, basically the last person in the squad that Azek otherwise annihilated.
Okay.
Oh, well, actually, so I just saw the spend there, Luckless Panda, and I will keep that in mind here.
Oh,
who would like to act next here?
okay.
Raldar,
You know
I would
what?
say go ahead
Go ahead.
and
I'm
rend this guy into little
I'm a,
gibbets.
okay. I'm fine with this. All right, let's go.
Okay. So, are you going for the melee
Yes.
with the sash?
No, I don't wanna pull out my fucking. I don't want to pull out my dagger.
Very good. All right. So this is contested daring and security, and Raldar, the chat has spent to increase the difficulty on your next task. So that
Oh, increase
effectively,
the.
yes, whatever you roll here, you are going to need to get one more d20 than usual in order to beat. So
I see.
Vegta, for his part, is ready to contest. I
Have an
will.
extra die.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yep.
Take an extra die.
Let's see. I suppose I will respond in kind with the point of threat.
Ah, I see. I see. You know, I was really hoping he was going to use the increased complication on me. That would have been really funny.
Well, it's more expensive, so it takes just a little bit longer to earn that.
Damn.
Well, that is 2 successes for you, Raldar. You would have needed to get a 3 in order to beat him. Or rather, you would, yeah, or that would have only worked if he had scored basically a single success on his defense. However, he rolled 3 dice. Uh, while the increase in difficulty, it's kind of wonky with a melee task, I'll admit. I will rule that I only get the one additional threat off of that roll, basically get my threat back to reflect that he rolled slightly better than you. I won't factor in that particular. I won't factor the increase quite that way, but it is still enough for him to roll. Um, it is still enough for him to roll for a counterattack, and so this time he is going in for a more lethal strike. Now that you've upped the odds with the dagger, so go ahead to expend that point of threat, and see how he does with the Mickleth this time.
Oh,
2.
wait a minute. You went right for damage?
Ooh, right
Yes,
on
he won.
5.
Yep, so that is 5 points, which is technically enough to perform a lethal injury.
So, luckily, I have tough, so we only need 1 momentum to avoid that.
Very good. Taybok,
Okay,
would you?
so there you go.
Thank
We're out.
you.
Okay.
We're out again.
Yep. Raldar, as you go in with your dagger, are you? Would you imagine that Raldar is using it with the has a reversed grip or the more conventional sort of grip?
He sort of just. I would say it's a more conventional one because he just slid it off his belt. Like it sits sideways.
Yeah, it's kind of the usual. You've got like both hands in front of you and the dagger kind of up and outward, as you know, a lot of the Klingon brawls that we see happen to be.
I think it would be one-handed considering
Yeah,
he's
it's
fucking big.
yeah. Raldar is, I mean, to be fair, Raldar is almost of a size to where the Mechleth would be almost an appropriate equivalent, but it's still, uh, maybe you have a slightly bigger diktach than usual. In any case, you go in for a stab that just kind of with the your relative height advantage, you seem to think that you can get in a good lunge at him, but he's a quick little bastard, and he's going to move right past, or he's going to sidestep, kind of catch your arm with that, and go in for another slash, basically carrying up the arm and trying to get at your, like, hack away. Uh, the angle actually almost goes for your neck, but, or he tries to go for that. It more cuts across the chest a bit. Um, He probably does draw some blood from this, but because that same reach question is coming into play. You're able to kind of slightly pull back and not take nearly as bad of a hit. That is, however, still, I mean, that's still another 5 points of stress that you've taken.
But I thought he avoided that damage with the
He only
spending of
avoids
the
the injury that results when you take.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, Raldar's still a chunky boy, I'm sure, so I don't think he's quite in danger of going down yet.
I have 5 stress left.
That said, I think that. Let me think here. I think Azik is the one player character still capable of acting, so you could.
Whoa.
Well, technically, the way I'm
Sorry,
running.
there's your NPC mode. Gotcha.
Yes. So I'm basically the way I'm going to treat this. You, as the players, may act with your respective characters. You may alternatively elect to pass off to an NPC, or you can even take a role as a supporting character. Um, but yeah, basically, Joe, you're the one person this turn who hasn't acted yet.
All right, I'm gonna shoot out of the window.
Try to take out the last remaining straggler.
Of course.
Okay.
So let's control and security.
Okay.
Um, we have no momentum because reasons.
The difficulty on this task is 3. You can always use your determination, or not at all. Yeah, you
I'll
begin
save it.
taking lazy pot shots in the direction of the last one, just creating further confusion. But yeah, nothing really comes of it. You do hear, however, a bit of you feel a vibration from downstairs suggesting that there have been some explosions and possibly further things going on elsewhere in the tavern.
Fair enough.
So with that, turn order, I guess we'll back to um, go back to their group here. Um, the big one is going to charge through next, and let's see,
He's got a lot of stuff in the way.
yes, but he is thankfully a slightly more fit boy, so maybe, just maybe, he can make it along through. And yep, that's enough to clear the barricade. So he's also going to get over, and he will draw a sword. The style of blade he has is a relatively straighter version, so I would actually like to think that Napur, yes, exactly. Napur uses the Tiglath. For those that have been keeping up with the recent season of Picard and have seen Worf's most recent blade, then that would be the best comparison. So, a generally straighter, more conventional sword in that sense. It's obviously got its own curves and a very sort of organic flowing kind of wrist guard or handle guard, basically. Very deadly and with one hand. But yeah, so with that, your turn order is also reset now.
Okay, well, we didn't have Wogo or Takoth or Zionol.
Yep. Well, Zionol is outside and would need to climb down from his perch in order to help you anyway at this point.
Yep. So
but if yes.
we are resetting, or
Yes.
do the other 2 NPCs inside get to do something now?
The only NPC I'd be inclined to allow to do anything would be Durkir at this point, because he just wants to take his own initiative and go into combat. But out of out of deference to you, Captain, and maybe his own amusement, he just wants to see how this plays out first before
Okay,
running into battle.
So, Woe and Dakoth don't get to do anything?
They will get to do something if you would either like to roll for them, or in Dakoth's case, or in Woe's case, if you order her to go do something, basically.
Okay, then I will say it into Woe's ear. Go kill them.
Eh. All right. And she's going to set aside her rifle and draw one of her swords and go to engage the big one. And now, cough up a hairball because the GM doesn't feel like pulling off her voice today. So she's going to take the very nasty Tegalar, the Nausicaan sword that she acquired from the Jan's former co-owner, or rather one of his bodyguards, and charge in against the taller of the Kohach. So your titans of the group join battle with the two most daring out of the Klingons, or at least the more marginally effective, as she goes in with wild swings using her own superior reach in order to engage. The burly Klingon warrior manages to block the initial blows, um, and parrying at most turns, but with one of those glancing hits manages to slash along one arm and getting an opportunity to deal some damage here. For the record, both have rolled 2 successes, but since Woe was given the initiative, she is the one who deals damage, or she was the one that was taking an action. So let's see. That will be this roll for a sword. 2, 3, and 3 effects, which would be 6, so that would be a total of 9 points of damage, or 9 points of stress, rather.
What does escalation 1 do?
Escalation just means basically that would have been the opportunity cost and threat that I would have had to pay.
To bring the weapon.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's see. I am going to... I'll go ahead and use the two of my threat in order to buy off that or rather that injury. So it's actually quite a bad quite a bad slash that she manages to land, but he just growls and takes to the fight with that much more vigor. Let's see. Seeing their leaders in trying to engage the group here, the other Klingons that were sort of set near the bottom, they are going to, rather than try to clear the barricades, they are just going to try and move up a little bit, and with those two in the way of the initial shot, they are going to just look around and try to get a shot on one of the free people they see, which is pretty much anyone on the left side of this room here.
They're going to start killing civvies.
Well, it's the heat of
Most
battle.
dishonorable.
It's the heat of battle. Everyone's confused, or at least they are. Let's see.
None of those people are armed.
Most dishonorable.
Well, they did at least roll for a member of the crew. So they, using the cover, are going to try to level their disruptors and take a shot at the person most in the open as far as they can tell, and well, they were going to take a shot, but with no successes and a complication, I'm going to say that, well, first and foremost, They are not able to take the shot. I'll let that complication be a narrative option that you determine. I'm mostly open to things. I will just say that the shot does not go into the backs of their leaders because they were decidedly aiming in this direction.
Power cell is out of charge. I like that idea. Can that be a complication for them?
I would be willing to grant that, and with that they are unable to use their disruptor rifles. So,
Oh, that's good.
yep, they are going to let those drop to the side as their disruptors prove inoperable. And the turn order goes back to you. So I
All right.
believe
So we at the top.
we have, well, there are still basically effectively slots for 2 player actions for whatever, however, Steven, however you want to treat your next roll, be it something that Bahan does or something that you pass off to a supporting or NPC character. Azik can also still perform an action here.
Hey, I thought it was a new turn order.
All right, Raldar hasn't taken an action yet, so you also still get to act. That's right.
Okay, so we're okay. Well, we were still on the previous turn, so that was why Woe went, because I told her to go do something.
Oh, that
We
was.
haven't started the next round yet.
Oh, okay.
Because
I
we did
think
the
I see.
PCs, but our NPCs haven't done anything.
Well, yes,
aside
but
from-
I'm basically treating turn order, given that we have so many NPCs and that we have only so many players. I'm essentially assigning the actions based on the number of players that we have present. That is, to my
Right.
understanding, how the rules are intending for this to go, more or less. And so that's
All right, so before the turn turns over, I'm gonna tell. Shoot, I can't remember my bodyguard's name.
Takoth.
The cost to pick up Woe's disruptor rifle and radio to Zional to get his ass inside this building. And there, we've taken care of them. Does that
Okay.
work?
That does work. Decoth will say, "Ah, good. I was not relishing wanting to use that spear, Captain. Though it would be nice to skewer these buttocks."
Just pick it up. Zional, get your ass in here.
Oh, yes, sir. Captain. I guess you prefer Chakwi.
Captain is fine.
All right.
Now we can start turn.
May
So,
I get
Raldar,
it?
do you want to go? Or do you want me to
Yeah.
jump in with my mech left?
Let me go because I need to use the bathroom.
Ah, okay. Yeah, go for it.
Knife into Guy. Let's go.
Okay. Control and, or rather, daring plus security.
Pokey, pokey, stabby, stabby.
Okay. Let's see how Vegta does with this.
Ow.
3 successes to your 1. What? But now for the last time, just go down and stay down. And with that last declaration, as he parries aside the dagger once more, with 3 successes to your 1, Raldar, he is going to land a blow with, that is 8 points of damage, and I am expending the threat to make it a lethal injury, so you will need treatment before this scene, or stabilization, in order to survive. But he's going to... Go ahead.
Well, so I'm gonna have to spend a determination on this.
Okay. Very good. Is there a particular value you are tapping for this?
To kill the defenseless is not true battle because they're taking pot shots at unarmed people here.
That's a good application. I like that, and yeah, I will allow you to do that as he's going to get in a good shot at your flank, and well,
This is
now
just so I don't die instantly because 2 injuries kills me.
that is right.
I'm-
He does
I'm
still
down.
get in he does still get in one because his the damage he's done is enough to inflict one injury, so you still require the stabilization before the end of the turn. Or rather, the
See,
end of the scene, of course, not the turn. Doesn't work that way. But yes, he will dig the blade. Like he will find a point in your armor that he can get the mechlith under and just lunge in. Raldar, you feel a horrible stabbing pain as he manages to get that slash in with enough depth to do some serious damage.
Probably
And
feel it
even
through the
worse as he
rib.
pulls away.
well,
So, Raldar, you are momentarily down with the lethal injury out of combat. So,
all right.
and you
So
are,
I'll be back.
yes, you are free for moments. Um, but let's see. With that going, I guess he's going to look around. Let's see. Which one of you's the well? Which one of you's the captain of this bunch of misfits?
Azek yells from upstairs, I am!
Oh,
I look at the ceiling. What the fuck?
it's not gonna make it easy for me. Well, you there, just sit back and enjoy this, or maybe take care of your friend. I'll be back after I've dealt with your captain.
He's distracted. Go for it.
Uh, you're not going to make this a problem for me, are you? I can pay decently enough.
As he goes past, the Koth is going to shoot him with the rifle.
Okay, going past there, that does just
No, I
bear.
have to. No, he's got to be clear of woe before he takes the shot, because he's headed towards the stairs. I'm assuming.
We will just see how the complication goes there. But yes, I will allow the shot once he walks past, and hopefully he's got a decent trigger finger there.
I hope
So,
so. Shooting with is what, control and security still?
yes.
Okie Let's see what happens.
Okay, so that is 2 points of damage, or that's 2 successes rather, from Dekoth, so that should be enough to hit. Go ahead and roll damage for me.
Okay, he doesn't have disruptor rifle on
He has
his
a.
sheet.
Tell you what, I will modify his pistol for you, just for a moment. So Dekoth, disruptor pistol, that will go up to 4. There you go.
Does it still count as vicious?
Yes, vicious 1.
Here we go.
Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 7 points of stress. And so that blast hits. Let me double check here. Let's see. Well, I think it is time for me to pull a little bit of well, yes, a little bit of GM shenanigans here because
I hate
I
high.
I have already spent his determination here, which
Uh-huh.
means that in order to get it back or to get something back, I'm going to need to challenge a value. And in this case, Vigta's never been one for tradition, or certainly he's better off, like he's better at managing these situations. Uh, Rather, he hasn't objected to it, but the fact that somebody shoots him from behind the back is enough to awaken some deep, troubling sense of honor. Thus, he is going to drop the value tradition as a pretense to rob you blind. As actually, no, that's the worst one to drop in this case. Power is easier to gain than honor would be more his. He's going to be so incensed that he is going to challenge that to get his point of determination back. And in its place, what an age we are in to what an age we are in to where our warriors can't even can't shoot you face to face anymore. With that, he will ignore the injury that he would take from that in order to stay standing. And while he is badly staggered, he catches himself uh, like at his knee and partly with the mek'leth before standing back up and turning around. I did give you the option to pay. Now it'll be with your blood! And he'll be charging in the next moment. But the turn order does go back to you guys first. So, let's see. As all of this continues, I believe. So, Raldard acted. Tabak, you have ordered.
Oh, I
You had
gave
ordered to.
orders, but I don't know if that counts as my action.
I think that it's you basically passing off to an NPC here. So I think I'd be inclined to say that somebody else gets the opportunity to do something here. Azik, you may act if you wish, or you could make use of a different NPC here. If you use Dakoth, it would be at an increased difficulty since he has been used technically. Alternatively, you can pass off to another, or like to one of the player characters that is effectively an NPC right now, like Woe or Kresik, and something like that. Uh, if you don't have anything in mind just yet, Cheesy, you can also, or like you also have a choice open here.
I want to cause more confusion. I'm going to take the guy that's passed out and chuck him down the stairs. Hey, is this one of your guys? Trying to create more distractions over here to get people to look our way to help the other guys get better shots or
Basically, try to create an advantage.
yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to give me a difficulty 2. Let's call this fitness and security roll, because you are having to drag this man um, along and toss him down the stairs, which is...
Would athletics be an applicable focus?
Yes, it is actually that exact background that also means you don't suffer an increase in penalty here, as Azik would otherwise be a little short-handed.
I gotcha.
Ooh.
Maybe I'll take his hand.
Short-handed. Well, that is just shy of what you need. You have dragged this man most of the way through the hallway, but are still a little shy of the stairs, and the combat continues to rage around, or like rage downstairs while
Okay.
whilst you take a breath. Cheesy. We'll go over to you here. What would you like to do? Do you want to try to do something with Bahan from the ship? Would you prefer to pass off to one of the player characters, or like basically one of the current NPCs, or would you like to act through a supporting character?
Can I communicate?
I'm sorry, you cut off midway through communicate. Could you
Sorry.
please repeat?
Can I communicate with the captain real quick?
Yes, I'll allow that as something you can do before you take an action.
Captain, do you want weapons or medical supplies?
Get down here, Raldar's bleeding out.
Got it. I'm gonna land the ship as close as possible.
Okay. This is going to be a. I'm going to rule that this is a control and con roll, but there's a trait that actually applies here in the scene. This area is a natural deuterium extraction site, so there are deuterium vents about. That means that you are having, in order to land the ship, you may still roll a control and control and con roll assisted by the ship's engines and con, but you do so at an increased complication range, specifically by 1. So
No
the
help for
ship
the
is
ship.
of no help here. But you manage, Bahan, to score the 2 successes necessary to set down the ship. The moment you feel the crunch of the docking clamps settling into the fines of the ground, which the ship at this point gives you very slight feedback when you are in a calmer docking circumstances. So the moment that you've got that confirmation, Kresic is immediately away from the weapons post and out the door towards the rear elevator.
I'm gonna follow behind.
Okay. Um, as I recall, you had Bahan pick up some weapons just in case you were allowed to beam down. Would I be correct?
Yes.
Very
I got
good.
a pain stick and a disruptor.
Very good. Well, you will get to enter
Okay.
during the next round of combat here. Um, so that being said, I think last time these guys rolled as a squad, so I don't think that they didn't have any more actions left. So I think that uh, the order's pretty much reset across the board now. So I think, yeah, I am just checking my notes here. All right. I think the way we've been playing it, after getting their surprise round, the hostiles have had the initiative here. Um, I think that just because of where we are, I think we will keep that for one more round, and then you would get the chance to reclaim it. I think. Actually, no. Let's play this properly here. The players are allowed to get the well, but wait, we've had. Sorry, just double checking to make sure I've got this straight here. Yeah, players have technically acted like twice in a row at this point, so I think that I'll give these guys one more shake, see if they can make a difference here, and yeah, give you the chance to give you your money's worth in the fight. So Napor for his part is going to keep trying to engage with Woe, so that'll be just a contested melee very quickly. Uh, Swinging away with his T-Glyph, he keeps trying to compensate for Woe's fairly extensive reach, and this time actually manages a successful clash where he gets just past her guard and cuts into her leg a little bit. This is a non-lethal injury. I no longer have the threat to inflict lethal injuries right now, so he's just going to roll damage. Oof. That is
Wow.
uh, 6, and 4 of those are effects, so that is 10 points of stress he inflicts with that. That is bad enough to definitely stumble Woe. And let me double check her talents here. Oh, but she does actually, so she does have vertical bracing. That will give her 2 points of resistance to non-lethal attacks. So that will at least limit the amount of injury she takes to
Does she have any
or
resistance?
stress. She has 2 resistance against non-lethal attacks with the vertical bracing talent.
No armor?
Oh yeah, she did take some of that armor. I can reduce it by 1 more to give her a total of 3 points here. Just because she was going for a leg, and I believe that she had adapted one of the late Nausicaan's pauldrons, basically, to or like the knee or like the shoulder guards to basically cover her knees, essentially. So that will help just a little more. A very good point and a deep cut there, Sean. So with that, yeah, everyone is kind of getting a bit cut up as this melee gets a little bit more desperate here. But the order goes back to you, Azik,
Okay.
or rather, Joe, Sean, Cheesy, or Caligo if he's back. All
I'm
of you
here.
are okay. Let's see here. So all of you have the opportunity to act. Who would like to go first?
I ain't acting on shit.
Well, you could always
Well, you
pass off.
could take over. Yeah, I was going to say you could take the cough and shoot somebody. He's got the rifle.
Oh boy.
I mean, he could even shoot the guy he already shot. Just a suggestion.
Maybe.
Not me
We'll
giving
see.
an order. Just making a suggestion.
Okay, who's
It's a
going
round
first?
boy.
Okay, well then Dukoth is going to shoot the guy he already shot.
Okay. He is pretty quickly closing the distance here, so it's not quite to reach. You've still got it as a difficulty 2 control plus security roll. With that, yeah, that'll hit. So go ahead and roll me damage here.
All right, you have to change the disruptor pistol back to rifle.
Yes.
Can I do that? Can I
Work.
do that? I can do that. There we
Behold,
go. I can
GM
do
magic.
Blam!
All right. Dukoth, as the warrior as this warrior Vegta the Undying closes the distance. The blast catches him just shy of where he's able to swing his mek'leth at Dukoth, and let's see, with 6, 8, 9 points of stress. Let me check that. Yes, Vegta goes down, the blast catching him in his chest and sending him hurtling over him.
Yay! Okay, bad guy's turn.
As the others look uncertain and Napor is sizing up Woe, he looks over. Ah, so you got him. Ah, he's been a fool today. He looks to the 2 Klingons behind him, who at this point were drawing disruptor pistols and were very nearly about to start taking shots as individuals. Cease hostilities! Oh. Oh. Would I be correct to guess that you are in fact the captain? He says,
Yes.
glancing over to you, Tabak.
Yes, I am.
Yes. He, for all his charms, sometimes he gets a little too into the situation, and thus doesn't have quite a good sense of who is, shall we say, properly in charge, or quite how that goes. Well, you have bested a great many of my warriors today.
Do I need to best more?
Oh no, not at this point. He has gone down honorably in battle, and well, that'll be enough for him. Till the next time.
And you?
Oh, well, for me, I realize I have to tend to just one small bit of unfinished business here. And with that, he is going to conduct one daring and security roll, which I'm just going to say he gets surprise on one of the errant Klingons that was right behind him, nearest the barricade. The other one just looks like Chakwi. That's for killing, threatening to kill the unarmed. Now, start moving. Um, and yeah, the other one's just going to barrel out. In any case, I have need for this shell here, and to do a bit of cleaning of these excess bodies. You may, of course, do your own, or handle any others that you wish to see. If you do, it seems as though those fires you have going are convenient enough for the task.
What are you doing with his corpse?
Well, that's a question best left for next time, Captain. And
If
with
somehow he comes back, you will both be dissected. You realize that, right?
oh, perhaps, but that is for us to find out later. In the
Get out of my
meantime, neither
get
of
out
us.
of my sight with your waste of space.
No. He will simply pick up Vegta, and the two of them will start moving out of the bar.
Back the way they came, I'm hoping.
Going back out the other way. As they leave, or rather, Napur is going to pick up the disruptor pistol the other one held and just take the chance to vaporize him.
Oh, the corpse?
Yes,
Okay.
the corpse of the warrior that was left behind.
Right.
And yeah,
Got it.
with that, they're going to start clearing out.
All right.
Mere
Press in
moments
here.
later, yeah, exactly. Mere moments later, busting through the other door is the lumbering form of a Gorn, uh, equipped with various medical devices,
The earth. Oop,
followed by a small, a very slight fellow, uh, hooded and wearing his usual goggles. No visible armamentary, but undoubtedly with a knife, not too far to where he can get to it. Zional, so that'll be just putting people out on the field.
All right.
And Bahan is not far behind, I'm sure, pain stick leveled in case he charges in.
Yeah. Kresic, tend to Raldar first. Woe is also wounded.
It's more just a scratch, Captain.
Woe was also wounded. Tend to Raldar, tend to Woe.
I will stabilize him immediately. And Kresic will go over to you, Raldar. Let's see. I believe he will need to roll to stabilize. That should be just a simple matter of, well, since you are not in combat, this would be, actually no, it's still daring and medicine either way. Let's see. So Kresic will roll.
If I die, I'm gonna blame Panda, even though it wouldn't have changed anything regardless of what he did.
Yep. Yes, and you can get revenge on him later. Let's see. So Kresic will roll, and he will score a single success, thus being able to
Yes,
stabilize you.
extended. Oh, that stabilizes him. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
he can be moved, and
All right.
Kresic runs a scan on Woe. Your injuries are also something that should be treated, but perhaps, Captain, it is best that we do so back aboard the ship.
Yes. Get your patients back on board. Azek, get down here.
You want this guy too?
Just shoot him and come downstairs.
Okay, I vaporize him.
The GM takes one threat for murder.
And come on down.
And then I tell Bahan, Dakoth, Zional, Kelsa is here too, right?
Kelshaw is indeed here.
Kelsa. Right.
Yep.
Anyway, I just tell Zional, Bahan, and Dakoth to find the corpses outside and put them in a pile. I'm going to want Kresic to take a look at them before we throw them into the burning plasma pits.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sometime later, we'll move it to a slightly different setup here. Or rather, we're going to move to the earlier set, which, while conveying the general image of the bar, does not belie the craters and just sheer scale of destruction from various blasts, nor the pockmarks on the building of disruptor bolts that have hit rocky outcroppings or other parts of the bar.
Mr. GM,
Yes,
do we have anything on board in our spares that I can give to the dude who runs the bar to replace the plasma charges we took out of his oven?
you do. And Kelshaw will, bearing in mind the promise that both you and Raldar made, given that he's being treated at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
rather he's getting transferred in, she will personally see to it that that is taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, for your part, as time a bit of time elapses, the remaining people have gathered together the corpses. Dirkir is taking last swigs from a carton of blood wine, and otherwise the collection of warriors have been assembled, or mercenaries rather, have been assembled near enough, or like near enough to you that you can get a sense of what's going on. Kresic will come around after going to the ship with Raldar and administering some first aid.
Okay, so
You
Kresic comes
wished to see me, Captain.
down. Yes. The survivor went to great lengths to vaporize several of the bodies. I don't know why. I find it disturbing. I want you to just get detailed scans of these corpses. I don't know what you should look for. I just want you to find everything you can about these men before we throw their corpses into the burning plasma fires. And before you do that, I look at my fellow Klingons and I go, now we honor them. And throw my head back and give them their roar.
Yes, I'm sure Dekoth, for his part, at least will join in. Up to you what Ezek does. Dirkir isn't honest. Well, he'll belatedly give it, half-heartedly even.
Arr. Right.
Yep.
Ezek raises a tankard of blood wine and chugs it back.
Near as I can tell, Captain, the only thing these people have that are special about them is the fact that they have recently been brought out of a stasis pod. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that they were woken up, given a weapon, and sent back down here to pull off this forsaken task.
Might explain why they were horrible warriors.
It is a senseless waste.
Yes, it was. It was glorious, but stupid.
Well,
Do they have any house badges, any of them? Major or minor?
for that part, Woe is who's been managing some of the corpses. Not that I saw, Cat. These are just people, wasted lives.
Any rank badges on them? Are they? Yeah. Do they have any?
There's nothing to discern them. They just basically they were given a particular matching mercenary outfit, but they're like they don't conform to any known government or organization, nothing to a house. They literally just announced themselves earlier as a mercenary company, so these people were basically cannon fodder.
And they are all Klingon.
Yes. All of them are Klingon, all of them are Kohach, much like yourself.
Yeah. Well, I hope you gathered up all of the weapons that survived.
Yeah, they're in pretty rough shape, Cap, but maybe we can salvage a bit.
Yeah, here. Okay. You know what? Zionol. See if you can find any serviceable weapons still. You're good at that.
Captain, I really do suggest we get out of here and out of the atmosphere before that distress call reaches any Klingon ships.
We will. This won't take long.
Captain, there has been more than enough time for that signal to make its distance. I understand whatever judgment you will make and will stand by it in this case, but you should be made aware of those facts.
Fine. Gather what you can find now. Throw the bodies in the pits. Let's go.
Well,
probably just going to be a handful of disruptor pistols.
Yeah. Now, since we're winding down here, I will ask, does anybody in particular want a closing scene? Or want any last moments with their characters before we cut off?
Yeah, I want to have a conversation with Dirkir. Probably once we're on the ship and away from this rock.
Well, I will say you will get a chance next time because he is going to be a passenger here. But we can at least have we have time enough for a very quick thing here. Dirk here tosses aside a canister of the blood wine that he finished off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose we're all done here.
At which point I grab him by the shirt and pull him in towards my face. Who are you that these men wanted you so badly they would die by the dozens?
I'm certainly not somebody used to getting handled by the shirt.
Shut up and talk.
On that front, with all due respect to your station as captain, I think not, Captain Tabok. I think I am going to go back to where I am going to go on your ship. I am going to drink the blood wine, and I am going to wait until we get back home. And maybe, if I'm lucky, there'll be a fight along the way.
Get out of my sight. And then I let him go. And then we get on the ship and go.
Yep.
He's gonna be pissed off because there's no blood wine left on the ship.
Yeah, but he will at least take the moment to laugh at your frustration, and as he makes his way off. And so this man Dirkir steps onto the yawn. The price for his passage paid in the blood of these mercenaries. And it is at that we are going to leave off tonight. So for everyone in the archive, this is where we are going to leave you. I hope you enjoyed the session and look forward to having you for the next adventure.